Eric Dinowitz, Councilmember Lynn Shulman, who you'll all be hearing from. So in less than an hour, the Committee to Combat Hate will have their first hearing on a package of bills. And these bills are vital for ensuring that New York remains a place where freedom of religion is protected and basic security is assured. What happened at Park East Synagogue should never happen again. And those who wish to practice their religions freely, whether it's a synagogue, a mosque, or a church, should not have to navigate the obstacles of intimidation or harassment in order to do so. At the same time, we are not forgetting that our democracy and our country were built on the First Amendment. Freedom of speech is truly sacrosanct, and it is a freedom that these bills will uphold. What we will not allow people to do is abuse that freedom, to harass and intimidate others outside religious and educational institutions. The bills that we are hearing today in this committee mandate that the NYPD publish a plan to address the risk of injury, intimidation, or interference with those seeking to access religious sites and schools. And the department will establish clear considerations for when buffer zones near entrances and exits to those institutions are deemed necessary to keep people safe. These considerations will serve to protect safe access and the First Amendment right to protesters, as well as increasing transparency between law enforcement and those that they were sworn an oath to protect. We can all agree that safety is something that should be guaranteed to all New Yorkers, no matter where they pray or where they study. The agreement is one of the reasons why we formed this committee to combat hate, because we must maintain an environment where everybody belongs, and that environment has frankly been in jeopardy. In 2024, anti-Muslim hate crimes experienced a terrifying 69% increase. And there was also a string of vandalism attacks on Catholic churches across Staten Island. In 2025, hate crimes against Jews made up more than any other group combined. Just this past January, we saw an average of one anti-Semitic incident reported every single day, including more than 70 swastikas at a playground in Brooklyn. 70 swastikas. That is not the New York that any of us recognize, but we are doing everything we can to move towards a New York that we do. To compound our efforts on this committee, we are investing in education, investing in security, and investing in our communities. We also launched a 5-point plan to combat anti-Semitism last month. And just last week, we hosted a roundtable with Muslim leaders across the 5 boroughs to discuss ways to combat Islamophobia. Once again, I look forward to this hearing today to hear from New Yorkers all across the city, to have their say in this hearing. That is how government engages with the people it serves and understands how better to serve them. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Councilmember Yusef Salaam, who chairs our Committee to Combat Hate. Councilmember.
Thank you, Speaker. May the peace, mercy, and blessings from the owner of all peace, mercy, and blessings be upon each and every one of you and your families. Thank you for being here today and for your ongoing commitment to keeping New York City safe, inclusive, and welcoming for all. We gather here today in response to the deeply troubling hate crimes and acts of bias that continue to plague our city. Amongst the most shocking of these acts are the spray-painted anti-religious graffiti on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Harlem, the hateful anti-black racist comments made during the CEC 3 meeting, the anti-violence or anti-Muslim rampage that targeted 3 Muslim women wearing hijabs in Bay Ridge, and disturbing acts of anti-Semitic violence and anti-Semitic vandalism in Gravesend Park, where swastikas were painted on the playground equipment there. These recent incidents are not isolated, and they are a stark reminder of why we are here today. These incidents are part of a broader, deeply concerning trend of hate crimes targeting vulnerable communities in our city. Islamophobia, anti-Black racism, anti-Asian racism, anti-LGBTQIA+, hatred, and gender-based violence continue to have devastating impacts on individuals and communities. These are not just statistics. These are real people, real lives, and real stories of pain and suffering that we cannot ignore. As we move towards greater accountability, and we move forward today with today's hearing, we are considering important legislation proposed that will help us address these issues head on, including but not limited to securing our educational facilities, places of worship, education on cyber hate and bias, strengthening the financial support for hate crime prevention in schools, and creating an enhanced database of different types of hate crimes. Furthermore, I am proud to announce that I am exploring the creation of a youth academy to combat hate. This academy will focus on learning about various forms of hatred and how to tackle them head on. The betterment of our society starts with the betterment of our youth. And this academy will do just that. The mission of the academy is to explore the root causes of hatred, including but not limited to racism, anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim hatred, xenophobia towards South Americans, Native Americans, Asians, Catholics, Hindus, Sikhs, anti-LGBTQIA+ hatred, ageism, ableism, gender-biased violence. These legislative efforts are critical, but are not enough. We must also continue to push for systemic change that addresses the root causes of hate and bigotry, whether that is through education, community outreach, or stronger enforcement of existing laws. We must also ensure that we focus on all forms of hate instead of just laser focusing on simply one type. In our effort to combat hate, we must also ensure that we do not fall prey to the acts of bad actors who use religion to hide their promotions of hate at home and sometimes abroad. And we've seen this in all of our faiths, every single one of our religions. Bad actors popping up saying that they're doing this in the name of Muhammad, in the name of Moses. Sometimes they say they're doing things in the name of God. We're here today to send a clear message. New York City will not stand idly by in the face of hate. We will continue to fight for a city where every individual, regardless of their race, their religion, their gender, or their identity, can live free from fear and free from discrimination. Our work today is not just about passing laws, it's about creating a culture in which hate and bias are not tolerated, where people of all backgrounds feel safe, feel valued, and feel heard. Let's keep pushing forward together, because together we can make New York City a beacon of inclusion and a place where all people are treated with dignity and, most of all, with respect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Salam. I also want to mention we've been joined by Majority Leader Sean Abreu, who has a bill in this package. I do want to be clear, the package of bills covers a lot of different subjects. It's everything from protecting small houses of worship, creating security plans for small houses of worship that might not have the funds to be able to do so, creating a hotline to report hate crimes, since we've heard that many New Yorkers who are victims of hate crimes are not sure, do they call 311, 911, how to report it? So this is incredibly important. We've got a bill in there sponsored by the Majority Leader to address bias in social media that can fuel hate crimes. So we have a number of different bills in this important package. It's my pleasure now to call up the Chair and Vice Chair of the Jewish Caucus, Council Members Dinowitz and Shulman, to speak.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. First, I just want to thank you all for coming, including so many friends and new friends. And good morning, everyone. And when I say good morning, it is a good morning. I mean, this is a moment where people of all walks of life are coming together with the leadership of Speaker Menon and so many of our colleagues to affirm something that we all know. is that New Yorkers want to be safe and we want to feel safe. And we want our rights upheld, our right to practice our religion freely, our rights to assembly, and our rights to free speech. And today we are hearing a number of bills, including 2 bills that particularly protect everyone's right to safety and their First Amendment rights. And that's safe access to schools and houses of worship. And how do we do that in this legislation? This legislation is very simple. It calls for transparency with the NYPD. It calls for transparency so that no matter where you are on this issue, you know exactly where those buffer zones are, exactly where your safe access is, exactly how far you are being pushed back so that you can preserve your right to free speech and preserve your access to religious and school institutions. That's what these bills do. I'm so proud to be sponsoring these bills or co-sponsoring these bills, and I am deeply grateful for everyone behind me who's here today, our Speaker Menon, and all the people who aren't able to show up today because of the weather and who may be testifying online. And now I want to turn it over to the Vice Chair of the Jewish Caucus, my colleague and friend, Lynn Schulman.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
I want to thank Speaker Menon and Chair Salam for bringing this critical package of legislation forward. I am a co-sponsor of every bill that we are hearing today. Today's bills take a comprehensive approach to confronting hate from every angle, strengthening hate crime reporting transparency, creating a bias reporting hotline, educating young people about the dangers of online hate, improving emergency planning, and enhancing security protections at schools and houses of worship. Just weeks ago, right next to my district in Kew Gardens Hills, demonstrators gathered across from a synagogue and a yeshiva and chanted in support of Hamas. I want to make clear that the NYPD ensured everyone was physically safe and maintained order, but families in that neighborhood were very shaken, as you can imagine. Members of the Jewish community or any community should never have to question whether they can safely enter their places of worship. Unfortunately, this demonstration follows a troubling rise in anti-Semitism that we are seeing across the country and here in our own city. That is why Speaker Menon's bill, which is so crucial, provides proper buffers when the right to protest impedes safe access. We are a city that fiercely protects the constitutional right to protest. That right is fundamental. But protest cannot become harassment, and speech cannot become intimidation that interferes with someone's ability to safely worship. These bills strike a necessary balance, protecting civil liberties while ensuring public safety, and that is exactly what our city needs right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I also want to note we've been joined by Councilmember Virginia Maloney, and we've been joined by our Manhattan Borough President, Brad Hoyland-Siegel. Borough President, you want to say a couple words?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Speaker and Council members, for this important legislation. Look, we've seen over the months a rise in hatred directed at Jews, minorities. Our council members know that District 3 had a hateful incident just the other day that can only be described as anti-black racism. Hate is on the rise, and I want to thank the Speaker for her forward thinking in creating this buffer zone, and my council colleagues for the package of bills that I strongly support today because, look, I have an 8-year-old and a 16-year-old. They need to be assured that their spaces, whether it's schools or houses of worship, are safe. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Borough President. And now we are going to hear from Eric Goldstein, CEO of UJA, and I really want to thank UJA for their great help in support for this package of bills.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, enormous thanks to Speaker Menon for her leadership on this incredibly important issue. Gratitude to Councilmember Salam for holding today's hearing, and to all the members of the Council who are here with us today in support of this legislation. The bill being discussed today affirms the fundamental principle of our democracy, freedom to practice one's faith safely and without intimidation. No one should be afraid to enter a house of worship or a school. For the Jewish community, synagogues are much more than simply buildings. They're sanctuaries, places where we pray, celebrate life's milestones, mourn, teach our children about our faiths and traditions. They're central to Jewish identity and communal life. And particularly today, when the Jewish community is increasingly feels at risk engaging in Jewish life, it's all the more important to ensure that our community, the largest Jewish community in the world outside of Israel, feels safe and protected entering these essential gateways of Jewish life. And it's important to say that, as you can see from the crowd behind, that this is not an issue simply for the Jewish community. This is an issue that impacts all New Yorkers. In fact, a recent survey by ADL for UJA confirms that the vast majority of people of all faiths and backgrounds in New York support legislation to protect our schools and places of worship. To be clear, as you've heard, peaceful protest is cherished. It's a cherished right in the city and in our country, but intimidation, harassment, and fear are not. So we are grateful for the leadership of the Speaker, of the City Council, for all they're doing today. We thank you to everyone for supporting this, and we hope that this will lead to a better, safer city for all New Yorkers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eric. And now it's my pleasure to bring up Imam Maz Ali. Imam?
Imam Shamsi Ali.
No, Imam is not here? No. Oh, we're here. Sorry. He's here. Please. Thank you so much.
Imam Shahidullah. My name is Imam Mohammed Shahidullah. I'm here because, as a Muslim, and especially it's the Ramadan, actually what is the lesson from this Ramadan? This Ramadan lesson, we believe the safety, security, and the peace. And this bill to save our religious educational center and then worship house. That's why I'm here, and we support this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Imam. And now it's my pleasure to bring up a good friend, Mark Traeger, CEO of JCRC.
Thank you, Speaker Menon, Chair Dinowitz, Councilmember Shulman, Councilmember Maloney, Chair Salam, many friends. You know, I have remarks, but I'm going to put them to the side because many times in government and in policy debates, things can get lost in being too abstract. When we hear terms about zones, perimeters, what we're talking about is very real. Just a few weeks ago, when JCRC celebrated its 50th anniversary at Park East, at our congressional breakfast, we were addressed by 95-year-old Holocaust survivor, Rabbi Arthur Schneier. He did not speak as a politician. He did not speak as a lobbyist. He spoke as a Jewish New Yorker. And he believed that he lived long enough that he would never again have to see Jews or his fellow people afraid to practice their faith in their house of worship. But yet he described exactly that. Think about that. New Yorkers, people scared to go home from their house of worship, scared to enter their house of worship. Let me be very clear. No Jew, no Muslim, no Christian, no Catholic, no one should ever have to calculate risk before entering their house of worship. No one. This, to me, is not just... New Yorkers still have a right to protest. Every day we see protests. Folks are protesting outside by here. That's their right. This is a government building. But when you enter or try to enter a house of worship and target people by their house of worship door, that is not persuasion, that is intimidation. So thank you, Speaker Menon, and to the City Council and to the NYPD for finding the right balance to protect the rights of New Yorkers, including the right to safely arrive and go home from their sacred house of worship. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Mark, thank you. Mark was a former teacher, and we can tell. Thank you for those very strong words. We really appreciate it. I'm now going to call up Imam Izek El Pasha. See here? Thank you, Imam. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, with God's name, the merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer, our humanity is one. We are all from one human family, and the proof of that is our Creator. Every baby that is born, no baby comes into this world crying in the language of his parents. All babies, all babies come in crying in the universal language of babies. That is overwhelming proof by the Creator that humanity is one. And we should not have hatred based on the different skin tones, language, choice of religion, or any other life that we choose to live. No one should be hated for those things which only the Creator gave us the authority to have. Humanity is one. Let us respect the diversity and should bring us together rather than against one another. We ask always to recognize the 400 years of enslavement in my country, America, and all the things that I've heard so far today that happened to us as a people. But God has favored us with all of that we are not able to hate. We will not hate those who did those things to us. We will keep moving and trust in a Creator bigger than all of us, because for sure, all of us here, you and I, did not create ourselves. There is an authority. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Imam. I'm now going to call up Scott Richmond, Regional Director of the ADL.
Thank you so much, Speaker Menon, for championing this important issue, and Chair Salam for your leadership of the committee. In the Jewish community, we talk a lot about the oi and the joy. I want to start with the joy. The joy of welcoming the Shabbat in synagogue on a Friday night, the joy of celebrating high holidays together as a community, and the joy of being together for cultural programs and life cycle events in our synagogues. And standing behind our Jewish brothers and sisters every single day are the people on my team at ADL. In 2024, we responded to and tracked nearly tracked anti-Semitic incidents nearly 1,000 times in New York City alone, and 10 times that number across the nation. Our ADL team are the ones who show up when a synagogue receives a bomb threat or other anti-Semitic act. And in 2024, synagogues and other Jewish institutions in New York City were targeted 157 times. We are the ones who document every act of harassment, every assault, every threat directed at Jewish New Yorkers. And the data tells a devastating story. According to ADL's 2024 audit of anti-Semitic incidents, New York State and City recorded the highest number of anti-Semitic incidents of any state and city across the nation, the highest number that ADL had ever recorded since we began doing so 46 years ago. Worst of all, we tracked a record 69 anti-Semitic assaults in New York City, people physically attacked because they are Jewish, with more than half targeting Orthodox Jews. And while we don't yet have finalized 2025 data, we know firsthand that we are not going back to pre-10/7 levels, nowhere close. That is the oi. It is deeply troubling, but it is also why I'm so proud to be here today. I stand in strong support of Speaker Menon's 5-point plan to combat anti-Semitism, and specifically the legislation to create buffer zones around houses of worship across New York City. This bill carefully balances free speech with the fundamental right to worship safely and with dignity, to experience the joy. It protects not just Jewish New Yorkers, but all New Yorkers. We urge the City Council to pass this bill today without delay. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's now my pleasure to call up Monsignor Kevin Sullivan from the Archdiocese of New York.
Thank you, Speaker Menon, and all the other elected officials. And I'm pleased to express the support of our new Archbishop, Ronald Hicks, and the Archdiocese for the proposed legislation to increase safety at houses of worship, educational institutions. This legislation, quite simply, is about decency, civility, and the common good. It's not about the suppression of rights or uncomfortable ideas. It speaks about how we live together in a pluralistic society where we have very strong disagreements and at times clash with one another over profound values. We reaffirm that protesters have every right and duty to make us uncomfortable and even be unpleasant, but not the right to intimidate, bully, harass, and threaten violence. Legitimate protest against the nation's religion policies must not be equated with prejudice against people of that country or religion. But even so, we cannot fail to recognize that at times, the veneer of policy remonstrations masks sinful prejudice against a culture, a religion, or a race. I'm proud to be a New Yorker, and I pray that at this time of great trial for our nation, as we approach our 250th birthday, New York might be a beacon of hope and light that affirms the right to strong protest and also respects the right of safety against whom those protests are pointed. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have just a few more speakers before we head into the hearing. Our next speaker is Deacon Kevin McCormick, School Superintendent of the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Our society seems to have forgotten the basic discipline of cooperation, mutual respect, and responsibility. We've drifted into a public adolescence, acting without regard for civility and consequences. Our schools are a safeguard to that. I stand with Bishop Robert Brennan, the Roman Catholic Bishop of Brooklyn, in strong support of this legislation. Houses of worship and schools must be places of prayer, places of learning, and places of formation, not targets of opportunity for those who seek to intimidate or provoke. While we certainly affirm the right to disagree and understand that peaceful protest is who we are as a nation, we also understand that the safety of children, of families, teachers, and people at prayer are a higher obligation. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and the members of the City Council for embracing your responsibility to promote the common good and to protect all New Yorkers.
Thank you, Deacon. Our next speaker is Reverend Dr. Vernon Mason from Friendship Baptist Church.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I was going to defer to my pastor, Reverend Dr. James Arthur Kilgore of Friendship Baptist Church. I'm here to support not only the legislation, the Speaker, our Councilman Salam, but to share this with him. A Catholic priest by the name of Henri Nouwen, Bill wrote a book called The Wounded Healer. And Councilman Salam, the theme of that book is to minister out of your woundedness. The lesson for you, and I'm so glad that you appointed him to this committee, if there is one person in the City Council who is appropriately named to deal with a committee that deals with hate, it's this young man. He was the victim of one of the most toxic, Bill, Dr. Kilgore, one of the most toxic atmospheres of hate that you can imagine. Look at how God has worked, however. A person whom the man who was on last night spewing took out a full-page ad asking for his execution has now the city councilman from Harlem, and having been appointed to deal with one of the most serious issues not only in New York City but in the country. I thank you for this appointment, and my brother, we love you.
Amen.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Reverend Dr. Thomas Johnson, Sr. from Canaan Baptist Church of Christ. Oh, he's not here. Okay, I know the weather has delayed some people. So our last speaker before we head into this hearing is Mohammed Razvi from the Council of People's Organization.
Thank you so much. Madam Speaker, thank you so much. And Brother Salam, Assalamu alaikum, thank you so much. Most importantly, I need to let everyone know that we have been working tremendously with ADL, JCRC, and UJA for over 2 decades. And the importance of that is, and also Monsignor Sullivan with Catholic Charities, the importance of that is people coming together always with all different faiths for one purpose, for each other, to help each other. A child is not born to hate. However, it's something that's discussed at a dinner table and someone's making remarks and someone else or uncle making those remarks, they pick up on that. Sadly, when you find out your own child was discriminated against, it just kills you. I can't even tell you when my daughter was walking down the street in front of the mosque and she was pushed down and then her scarf was pulled off. These are the things that had happened, and it's still continuous happening. We did a survey with hundreds and hundreds of Muslim youth, which became a report. And thank you, Imam Shlauddin, who actually assisted. And now we have gotten that report. It shows, yes, there's a huge increase. But what you have done, giving this space, introducing this space, safe zone for our houses of worship, it is amen to that, because we need this. We need our kids to be safe. We need our daughters to be safe. We need our wives, our children, our families to be safe. And I look forward to the hearing and presenting. Thank you so much, Madam.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. On that very powerful note, we are now going right into the chambers to begin our hearing. Thank you, everyone.